guys, welcome to Wednesday Morning Yoga Club. I do this class every Wednesday morning to raise money for Women International. I'll link the donation link at the bottom so that you guys can donate £5 for the class. I very much appreciate it. So this is all levels flow. Just make sure that you breathe. In every position that we come into, I'll give the cue. Try and find the cue, and then for the rest of the time in that position, try and work out what feels good, where you're feeling the stretch, and then move a little bit deeper into that. So you're actually trying to think about how it feels rather than just worrying if you're doing the right moves. The aim is that we leave the session feeling better than you arrived. So we're going to start on our backs, feet flat to the ground, reach your arms up towards the ceiling and then overhead, so you've got your elbows. And then we're just going to take a box breathing exercise. So you're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold the out breath for 4. We're going to do it 4 times. So to begin, take a deep breath in and then we'll sigh out. So breathe in together, big breath out, and breathing in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, breathing in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, hold the breath, 2, 3, 4, 2 more rounds on your own. Feel the sensation as your rib cage grows as you breathe in. So fully expanding the rib cage from the bottom to the top, holding the breath, feel that sensation. And then as you let the air go, notice the contraction, how does that feel? And then holding the breath. And if 4 counts feels too easy, grow it to 6. Last round. Whilst your arms are up overhead, you should feel like you're getting good stretch through the shoulders. Then when you finish that, no rush, but when you have finished, just let your knees fall from one side to the other. So your windscreen wipering your knees one side to the other, getting a bit of opening through the lower back and the hips. The next time your legs fall over to the right, keep them over on the right and place the right foot on top of your left knee. So you're grounding down the left knee and you should feel a stretch through the front of the left hip, the psoas, where the leg inserts into the torso. Then interlace your fingers and reach your arms up and over to the left top corner of the mat. So your legs are over on the right, you've got your right foot on top of the left knee, and then your arms are up to the left top corner of the mat. And then release, let the legs fall over to the left side. So you're placing the left foot on top of the right knee, so you're grounding the knee down to get even more internal rotation of the hip joints. And then this time reach the arms up to the right top corner of the mat. So you're trying to get your right knee as close to the floor as possible and reach your arms up, up, up. As much length through the diagonal as you can. And then release. And grab a hold of your knees and circle your knees out and around. So this should feel like a nice massage through the for the lower back. Also lubricating the synovial fluid around the hip joints. This is super good for the hips. Try and make the circles as big as possible, and also try and be really passive with the legs. So your hands are moving the knees, which in turn moves the leg around the hip socket, but your legs are really passive. Other direction. I'm trying to make the circles as big as possible. Notice if you're clenching your jaw. Often we hold a lot of tightness in the jaw, and then that translates across the hip. So try and relax the mouth, create space between the backs of the teeth. 2 more. And last one. And then interlace your fingers around the right shin and extend the left leg away from you. Pull the right knee as close towards the right armpit as you can. So not in the center of the chest, right over towards the right armpit. Pull it in as close as you can so you're compressing the hip flexor, compressing the colon, really good for the digestion. And then release. Let the leg fall over across your body, over to the left side of the mat. Then you're going to take huge circles around with your right arm. You can have your left hand on top of the knee to ground it down. So this is shoulder mobility for the right shoulder, circling all the way around. And then reach your arm open to a T and hold it there. So try and get more of your shoulder onto the ground. So the challenge is to get the right knee as close to the ground as possible and also the right shoulder as close to the ground as possible. Let the palm face up to the ceiling and take a deep breath in. And then breathe out. Come back to the center and cross that right foot over the left knee, and then interlace your fingers either around the back of the thigh, a little bit less intense, or a little bit more intense would be in front of the shin. And then try as best you can to keep your lower back on the ground. And the aim is to try and send your right knee further away from you. So naturally the right knee will come in if you're really tight in the glutes. So you're trying to encourage the right knee away from you whilst also keeping your lower back on the ground. Last breath there. And then release. So we'll do the other side. So keep hugging up the left leg. Grab around the shin if you were around the back of the thigh. Make sure you're pulling to the armpit. So rather than directly on top of the torso, feels a bit awkward in the hip joint. Try and pull out to the side as much as you can. Make sure you're breathing. So you're massaging the internal organs as you compress. One more breath. And then let that leg fall over to the right side, and then take the huge circles around with your left arm. Make them really big, follow around with your gaze. And notice the sensation. How does it feel? How does your shoulder feel? It should feel good in the back as well. You can have your right hand on top of your left knee to ground it down to get a little bit more twist through the lower back. And then keep the arm out to a T position. Look over to the open hand and try and get as much of the shoulder on the ground as possible whilst also trying to get the left knee to the ground. So you should be getting a really good twist. In twist, it's super important to breathe deeply and fully because it's so good for the abdominals and also for the internal organs. So you're trying to expand as much as you can and then release. Back to the center. Cross your left foot over your right knee. Interlace your fingers either behind the back of the right thigh or the front of the right shin. And then either take a little rock from side to side or hold still. If you can, press your left elbow into your left thigh to encourage it a bit further away from you. Don't worry if you can't reach, it's not necessary. Try and relax the jaw. And then release. So this time extend the left leg to the bottom of the mat and then bend and extend the right leg. So you've got your hands interlaced around the back of the right thigh if they're not already. With a flexed foot, you're extending and rebending. This is really, really good for hamstring problems or lower back problems or sciatica. If it feels too intense, then bend up the left leg. So you're bending, extending, couple more. Last one, extend and hold, and then point and flex. So as much range as you can, fully point, stretching the front of the ankle, then fully flex. You'll feel a stretch through the back of the calf. Couple more like that. Last one, and then walk your hands up your leg so you're feeling good. Stretch through the hamstring, don't go too deep, we're still at the beginning of the session. And then release for the other side. So interlace the fingers behind the back of the left leg with a flex foot, so with the toes towards your shin, bend and extend. And you can either have the right leg long, or to be a bit more supportive in the lower back, you can have the right foot on the ground and the leg bent. Two more. Last one, extend and hold, and then point and flex as much range as you can. And with the leg, you want to imagine you're pressing the leg down towards the ground, but with your arms, you're trying to pull the leg in closer. You're really trying to press your lower back into the ground as well. Two more. Last one, extend and hold, and then walk your hands up, up, up. Hang off the leg for a moment, and then release. Okay, just before we take some ab work, you're going to reach your arms all the way up overhead, and then back to the center. And again, breathe out as you reach up and back, opening the shoulder. Exhale to the center, one more. Exhale, breathe out. And then inhale to the center. I'm going to do one more version of that, but with bent arms. So pull up and back, and then bend your elbows to a W. Try and bring the elbows close to your waist, and the hands, same, are sliding along the ground. So pull back to a W. Inhale, reach up. exhale, pull back to a W, and then release. So reach your arms forward, bit of core engagement, lift your head and shoulders up off the ground and hold still there. So your lower back is on the ground, head and shoulders are off. Then lift your legs up to tabletop and hold. So you should feel your core engaging already. So your lower back is on the ground, but the shoulders are off the ground. Keep reaching forward. Now hold here with the upper body. Keep the angle in the knee joint the same. Just increase the angle of the hip joint until your left heel comes towards the ground and then lift up. And then same with the right leg. So you're not bending the knee, you're keeping the knee angle the same, you're just hinging from the hip to make the abs work harder. Then back to the center. So match the breath. Breathe out through the mouth. Inhale through the nose to back to center. Out through the mouth. Inhale back to center. 2 more. 1 more each side. And back to the center. Last one. And then back to the center. Nice. Lie your shoulders back down on the ground. Arms by your sides. Little hip lift. So a little lift of your hips up off the floor. Want to make sure our core's firing to support us for the rest of the session. Also, it's just good every time you get on the mat to just do a little bit of core work, because that is really what holds us together. Couple more. 3, 2, and 1. Feet flat to the ground. Let's lift the head and shoulders off the ground and then tap one heel and then the other. So reaching down one side and then the other. Tap, tap, breathe out. So for the rest of the class, we'll breathe in and out through the nose. But for these Pilates style exercises, it can really help engage the core by breathing out through the mouth to activate the abdominals. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice, guys. So rocking up and down the spine. Trying to make it as smooth as possible, getting a good massage for your back as you come up and down. Feel that moment of suspension each time you come up onto the sit bones. Don't worry if you don't make it all the way up. Last 2 and last 1. All right, so swivel your legs around the side and come into an all fours position. So hands stacked under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Doesn't matter whether the feet are tucked or untucked. Inhale, lift the chest, lift the tail. You should feel a good core stretch after those ab exercises. And then exhale as you round the back, chin to chest, and press the floor away from you. Inhale to lift the chest up, head up. And then imagine putting your back of the wrist towards the knees. Exhale, round, and then imagine pulling your hands away from the knees. Imagine someone's hand is on the top of your back and you're trying to push it away. Inhale, lift the tail, lift the chest, trying to get as much range as possible. And then exhale to round, 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 round. This is super good for the pelvis, unlocking tightness through the hips and looking after the lower back as well. 1 more, and then release. So now you're going to freestyle it, just wiggling any which way, doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Move the shoulders forward of the wrists. So we're warming up the wrists, shift the hips back towards the heels. And as I mentioned at the beginning, really try and feel what movements feel good for you, where feels tight and feels good to move into, where doesn't feel so good. Just wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And then release. So turn your fingers back towards your knees. So we're going to get a stretch for the forearms. Tends to get really tight, especially if you do lots of typing. So lean your weight back. If your arms are hyperextending, so if they're bending the wrong way, just micro bend them slightly, and then just lean your weight back. You should feel a good stretch through the front of the forearms. And then release. Come all the way up to kneeling, going for a side stretch. So lift up and over to the side. Slide your hand down your thigh towards the ground. Big side stretch there, and then back up to the center and to the other side. So you're coming towards the ground. Whether you or not you can reach the ground will depend on how wide your knees are. So the wider your knees are, the closer you'll get to the ground. So it's up to you how narrow or wide your knees get. You can bring your hand to the ground or keep hovering it up. And then coming all the way back. Okay, hands back onto the floor. Another core activation here. Press the floor away from you so your armpits are as far away from the ground as possible. Tuck the toes under and hover the knees 1 inch or basically a centimetre off the floor. Try and keep the back as still as possible. Send the right leg out to high plank, left leg out to join, right knee into hover, left knee into hover. Left leg out, right leg out, left leg in, right leg in, again, right out. Try and keep your shoulders directly over your wrists. Right in, left in. Don't worry if you're doing opposite legs. Left out, right out, left in, right in. Last time I promise, right out, each side, left out, right in, left in to finish that round, left out, right out, left in, right in, hold for 3, 2, 1, and then release. Sit onto your heels so your toes are tucked. It feels horrific because we're used to being in shoes all day, but really try and sit directly onto the heels with the toes tucked. Interlace your fingers behind the back and then open the chest. Really, really, really good for the feet. And then release. Now untuck the toes and sit onto your heels. Again, this can feel really sore on the ankles if your feet are really tight. Now grab a hold of your right wrist and pull the wrist down. So you've taken your left fingers around the right wrist and you're pulling down. And then bring your left ear to your left shoulder. So you grab to hold the wrist like this. And then I'll mirror you. So then you want to bring your left ear to your left shoulder. You should feel a good stretch through the neck. This is really, really good for the traps. Tend to get a lot of tightness in the neck from being in this position, often on the desk, or your foam crane neck. Other side, so grab a hold of the other wrist. So grab a hold of the left wrist with the right hand. Pull the left shoulder down as much towards the ground as you can, and then right ear to right shoulder. And then you can take, I should have said this for the other side, but you can go back. You can take a little movement from side to side, like flossing the head and neck. It should feel really, really good for the neck. This would be a great one to do every day. And then release. Okay, back into your all fours. Take the right toes, tuck them under, and then send the right heel away from you. You want to feel a stretch through the back of the right calf. Stay there, or to intensify it, bring the left toes on top of the right heel, and then push your shoulders back and push the mat away from you. Try and bring your right foot closer towards the ground. Should feel a really good stretch just there. Hold still and breathe. And then release for the other side. So left foot, tuck it under. Either stay there if you feel enough stretch, or if you want to go more, then right foot on top of the left heel. Try and bring the left heel closer towards the ground. And hold there and breathe in and out through the nose. And then back in your all fours. Okay, so we're coming into downward facing dog. So tuck the toes under, shift your weight back, try and bring your chest as close to your thighs as possible and make your arms frame your ears. So your hands are about shoulder width apart or as wide as the mat. Your knees are really deeply bent and you're trying to find length through the lower back. So you're trying to find a straight line from your hips to your shoulders. So spend another couple of breaths here. And now, deeply bend your left knee so you can send your right heel closer towards the ground. You're looking for a stretch through the back of the whole of the right leg. And then switch. Couple more times each side, so you're sending one leg to the ground at the other, and you're really trying to keep your chest as close towards the thighs as possible. You're looking in between or towards the knees, and your arms are framing your ears. Last one, and then just bring the knees down as wide as the mat, sit on the heels, reach the arms forward into child's pose and take a couple of deep breaths. So you're looking for a good stretch through the spine here. Then just look up a moment. So I practice downward facing dog a lot, but when I started I was more in this shape, which is not such an upside down V, and that's because my hamstrings were really tight. So the reason I cued you to bend your knees and press your chest to your thighs is by extending the lower back, you're going to be able to eventually access the stretch in the upper attachment of the hamstrings. And then it doesn't feel super satisfying to be here all the time. So then you can start treading out through the legs, and then eventually you're able to come more into this position. But we're either looking for length through the back and stretch through the legs, or if your hamstrings are tight, you have to work one then the other. So come back into downward facing dog. Now you can do whatever you like so that you look for where you feel like the better stretch. So don't go off piste a bit, as in do go off piste a bit, do your own thing. And then we'll walk the hands all the way back to your feet slowly. And then dangle over your legs. So take a hold of your elbows and just sway from side to side. Make sure you're breathing. Make sure your head is completely released. And And then interlace your fingers behind the back of the head. Keep the elbows hanging down, soft bend through the knees, and you're going to slowly roll up. So you're not allowed to bring your head up until you fully straightened up your back. So rolling up, the hands are on the back of the head, so you'll be getting good stretch through the spine. And then coming all the way up, elbows out wide, and then release. So turn the palms to face forward, so you're in external rotation for the shoulders, really good position for the spine. Just going to focus on the breath for a moment. So ground your feet, lift up all 10 toes, spread them wide, and then place the toes back down. Imagine that you have a string on the top of the crown of the head, and it's pulling you up, so your head's a little bit taller, and your shoulders are a little bit lower. And then close your eyes. Take a huge breath in through the nose, from the bottom of the top to the ribs. Big sigh out through the mouth, messy sigh out. And again, huge breath in. Big sigh out. Keep breathing out, 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 so you feel your deepest abdominals contract. And again, breathe in through the nose. Big sigh out. When you feel like you've got to the end of the out breath, keep breathing out until you feel your deepest abdominals activate. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Now we're going to go in and out through the nose. So breathing in through the nose. Breathe out through the nose. Breathe out, breathe out. When you think you've got to the end of the breath, keep breathing out so you feel that abdominal connection, and then inhale, refill. And now don't make it tense, so relax it a bit, so you're not going to the point where you're squeezing and you're completely running out of air, but you're just feeling that moment of ab engagement, and then breathing in again. This is the breath that we're trying to use for the whole of the session. Inhale, reach your arms up, open your eyes. Exhale, fly the arms out to the side, bend the knees, try and keep the back super straight. Hands to the shins, inhale, lengthen the spine, look forward, and then walk your hands to the top of the mat and hold in high plank. So you want your shoulders directly over your wrists, legs long, and you're pressing the floor away from you so your armpits are as far away from the ground as possible. And now press your chest back towards your thighs, downward facing dog or thereabouts. Inhale, glide forward. 3 more. Exhale, press back. Inhale, glide forward. Don't worry too much about shuffling around your hands and your feet. Just stay exactly as you are, just pressing the hips back and forward. Last one, shift back. And then inhale, glide forward. Release the knees to the ground, untuck the toes, bend the elbows to 90 degrees. Inhale, lift up. So try and keep the body in a diagonal shape as you lower down, elbows close to the waist. Inhale, lift up, last 2. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift, last 1. Lower, all the way onto the ground. Give a little break here as we come into a number 11 position with the arms. And then elbows are stacked directly under the shoulders, and imagine you're pulling your elbows towards your back pockets. So it's almost as if your hands are going to slide back, but they don't actually move. Shoulders away from the ears, and imagine you're pulling your chest forward so there's engagement through the spine. And then pop your elbows off the ground. Imagine you're pulling your hands back towards you, but don't actually move them. And then lower all the way down. Bring your hands closer towards your chest. Inhale, peel all the way up. Exhale, lower down. 3 more like that. Inhale, peel up. And exhale, down. Just make sure your shoulders are away from your ears. So try not to let the shoulders hike up. Pull them down and back. Think about bringing your elbows towards your waist. Exhale, lower down. Last one. Inhale, lift up. This time look to one heel and then the other. Really good for the lower back. Good for the hip flexors. And then tuck the toes under and sit your hips back onto your heels and stretch your arms as far forward as you can, and try and bring the armpits closer towards the ground. So you're getting a good stretch through the spine, opening through the shoulders. And then we're going to lift up and back into downward facing dog. So feet about hip width apart, hands about shoulder width apart, as wide as the mat, and then hold still in your downward facing dog. So as a guide, arms framing your ears, chest reaching back towards the thighs, knees as bent as you need or want, and then breathe in, out, feel that moment of engagement in your abs, and in. This time as you breathe out, bend your knees, look to the top of the mat, and then step all the way forward. Feet hip width apart, hands to shins. Inhale, lengthen, soft bend through the knees so you can get your back super straight. And then reach the arms all the way up and overhead. Exhale, arms down by your sides. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, arms sweep out, soft bend through the knees as you fold forward. Hands to shins. Inhale, lengthen the spine. And then exhale, big step back with the right leg. So just the right leg, arms framing your left foot, and a little rock forward and back, forward and back. You want to feel good stretch through the right hip flexor. So try and lift your chest up and try and straighten your back leg as much as you can. If you're super tight in the hip flexor, you might actually feel a better stretch if you bend your leg. So don't take what I say for granted. If it doesn't work for you, try and be a bit curious and bend or extend or lengthen until you feel your better stretch. Good, and then step that back foot all the way forward, hands to the shins, inhale, lengthen, and then left leg back, big step back. Lift the chest up, little rock forward and back. Extend the back leg as much as possible and engage the glute unless you feel a better stretch by doing something else. Couple more breaths there. And this time we'll step all the way back into high plank. Now, either knees on the ground like we did before or off the ground. We're going to do 2 full press ups. Bend the elbows 90 degrees. Inhale, lift. Last one. Exhale, lower 90 degrees. Untuck the toes. Inhale, lift up. Shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, press back to downward facing dog. Smooth, steady breath there. In through the nose and out through the nose. Inhale, lift up onto your toe tips. Exhale, bend the knees, look to the top of the mat. Lightly step or jump forward. Hands to the shins. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale to fold. Inhale, reach the arms all the way out and up. Lengthen as tall as you can, reach the ceiling. Exhale, arms down to your sides. This time, going to bend the knees and reach up. So bend the knees, sweep the arms forward and up into a chair pose. Arms frame the ears. All the weight is in the heels, so you can actually lift the toes up off the ground. And then exhale, fold forward. So my feet are together, yours don't have to be. Hands to shins, inhale, lengthen, try and make the back nice and flat. And then big step back with the right leg, huge step like we did before, just a little rock forward and back. Look for that stretch through the right hip flexor. And then reach the right arm up, big twist and lean your weight back. So open up, lean back, 2 more breaths there. And then reach that hand back to the ground. Release the back knee down to the ground and inhale, reach your arms up. Hook your thumbs over one each other and then reach your arms behind your head. So you're in a really low lunge. Your hips are quite close to the floor. Your arms are up behind your ears and you're imagining that you're pulling the back knee towards your front heel. Hold for 1 more breath. And then tuck the back toes under, split your arms, start to extend your front leg and reach your arms back until you feel a stretch through the back of the front leg. Squeeze your shoulder blades, open your chest, hold it there. And then release the hands to the top of the mat, press off the back foot, back to the top of the mat. Bend the knees, sweep the arms up, back into chair, all the way in the heels. Make sure you're not sticking your bum out like a duck. Tuck the tail under slightly. Sit a little bit lower, feet together, knees together, or if your feet are apart, knees same distance apart as your feet. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lengthen, hands to shins. Big step back with the left foot this time. Lift the chest, rock forward and back. Breathe there. Length through the back leg, feeling the good stretch through the hip flexor. And then reach the right arm up and lean your weight back. So open twist, reach up, lean back. 1 more breath. And then bring that hand back down to the ground. Release the back knee down to the ground. So you're quite a long, low lunge. And then sweep the arms up, interlace the thumbs, bring the arms behind the ears, and then reach up as high as you can. Imagine you're pulling the front heel and the back knee towards each other. 1 more breath there. And then tuck the back toes under, split your arms, extend the front leg. You don't need to fully extend it. You're looking for a stretch through the hamstring. So the aim is to keep the back nice and long, and imagine you're pulling the front heel towards the back knee. If you want to, you can fully extend it, but try not to let the back round. One more breath there. And then release the hands to the top of the mat, all the way back into high plank. We're going to go straight into the chaturanga. So either knees to the ground and bend the elbows down, or full chaturanga. Inhale, lift up to baby cobra or low upward facing dog, and then press back. Downward facing dog. Good, everyone. Keep up the good work. We're nearly at the end of the standing sequence. So inhale, reach the right leg up and back. Exhale, bring the right knee to the nose, shoulders forward of the wrists. And again, inhale, lift up, press your chest towards your thighs, and then exhale, knee to the nose. Try and actually touch the knee to nose. You've got to bring your shoulders forward. Last one, inhale, reach up and back. Exhale, knee to the nose, and then lightly place the foot in between your hands. If it doesn't reach on its own, help it forward with the right hand. And then inhale, reach your arms up to a high lunge. Bend your elbows to 90 degrees and bend the back knee towards the ground. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, bend the elbows, pull the elbows down, squeeze the shoulder blades. Inhale, lift up. Last one. Exhale, lower down, 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 down. And then straighten the back leg, keep the front leg bent. Interlace the fingers behind the back and then pull your fists back to open the chest. Imagine that you're splitting the mat in two. So imagine pulling the front foot forward and the back leg back. One more breath there. And then open up your arms and spiral out to warrior two. So make your stance a little bit longer. You want your front knee to be at a 90-degree angle. If I was to draw a line from the front heel to the middle of the back foot, it would arrive right in the middle. So bend the knee, get nice and low. Make sure your shoulders aren't out by your ears. Try and drop your shoulders away from your ears. It can help to turn the palms to face up and then back down. And then you're gazing to your front middle finger. You've got to work really hard to keep the knee from caving in. So work on the glute to try and get the knee directly over the ankle. One more breath there. And then straighten the front leg. Reach the back hand down the thigh and lift the top arm up to the ceiling. Big side stretch, reach up and back. Try and make yourself longer. And then re-bend the front leg. Cartwheel your front elbow to the thigh. Sweep the back arm up and around. Now you're trying to twist your torso towards the ceiling. Make sure you're not collapsing into your front thigh. So push away from the thigh so you create a negative triangle here. So just with the air. Shoulder away from the ear. And then you're trying to make the diagonal from the fingertips all the way to the back heel. One more breath there. And then inhale, coming all the way up. Bring the back foot closer so you're a shorter stance. And then shift your hips back for triangle. Reach as far forward as you possibly can and then bring your hand to your shin. Reach the top arm up and lean your weight back as though you're leaning onto a wall behind you. The hand can either be on top of the shin or pressing against the shin. Gaze to the top hand unless your neck hurts, in which case just look to the floor. Imagine you're splitting the mat in two. Hold it there. One more breath. And then inhale, coming all the way up. Now pivot yourself to the top of the mat again. Just rearrange slightly so that your feet are hip width apart, i.e. you're not like on a tightrope. So the back foot is at a 45-degree angle. This one is tricky, so bring your right hand to the back of your body, left arm up, and then reach forward. Imagine someone's pulling your arm forward, forward, forward. Soft bend through the front knee, and then bring your hand to the outside of your shin, or if you can on the floor, but probably just to the shin. And then try and twist your torso towards the right side. If you want to go further, if you've got your hand on the floor and it feels good for you, you can reach your right arm up and straighten the front leg. It's really, really good, this revolved twist, revolved trikonasana. It's a tricky pose though. And then release. And then inhale, coming all the way up. Bend the back knee to the ground, reach your arms up to the ceiling. So 90-degree angle with both your legs. Hands to prayer, hook your left elbow outside the right thigh. Press the top hand down into the bottom hand and twist. Either stay there, or if you want to test your balance, tuck the back toes under, lift the back leg up. You want your hands to be right in the middle of your chest, and you're pressing the top hand onto the bottom one to revolve a little bit more. One more breath there, and then hands to the ground, step back into downward facing dog. So you can take a vinyasa there if you fancy, or just come straight into child's pose and take a moment to breathe before we switch it over onto the other side. Coming back to that smooth, steady inhale and exhale through the nose. Trying to make a count of 4. So in, 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4. Lift up and back into downward facing dog. Let's finish off this standing sequence. Lift the left leg up and back. Exhale, left knee to nose. Get those shoulders forward of the wrist. Try and touch the knee and your nose. Inhale, lift up and back. Press your chest to your thighs. Exhale, knee to nose. Shoulders forward of the wrists. Only got one more. Inhale, lift up, 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 up. Exhale, knee to the nose. And then lightly place the foot in between the hands or help it forward. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, bend the back knee, squeeze the shoulder blades, open up the chest. Inhale, lift up, 2 more. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift up. And last one, exhale, lower. Straighten the back leg. Interlace the fingers behind the back. Try and take the opposite interlace this time. Pull your chest back, pull your fist back, open your chest. One more breath there. Imagine you're going to split the mat in 2. And then big open up of the arms. Make the stance a little bit longer so that you can bend into a 90-degree angle there. Take the shoulders away from your ears, palms face the ceiling to help you, and then turn the palms back down. Soft gaze to the middle of front middle finger, a little bit lower if you can. Tuck the tailbone under, and then straighten up the front leg. Slide the back hand down your thigh, lift the top arm up to the ceiling, try and make yourself as tall as possible. And then rebend the front leg, forearm to the thigh. Remember not to collapse onto the thigh, so press the thigh away from you, shoulder away from the ear. Sweep the other arm up and over, and then rotate your chest towards the ceiling. Try and make a long diagonal from the fingertips to the back blade of the back foot and hold. And then inhale, coming all the way up. Straighten both your legs. Bring the back foot in, and then send the hips back as you reach the chest forward, 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 forward. And then hand to the shin, reach the top arm up, and lean your weight back. 2 more breaths there. Imagine you're splitting the mat in 2. So front foot, think about pulling forward, back foot back. Lean back a little bit more, and then inhale, come up. So reshuffle slightly, so the back foot is at 45-degree angle. Your hips are pacing forward. Right arm up to your right ear, left hand on your sacrum or lower back. Imagine someone's pulling you forward, 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 forward. Front knee can have a soft bend through it. And then bring your hand outside onto the shin, and then try and rotate the spine, keep the hips facing forward, rotate the spine to the left. If you can, fingertips to the ground or onto a brick. If you've got a brick or a foam roller, that would be good. And then if you want to go further, reach the left arm up to the ceiling, twist. And then inhale, coming all the way up. Bring your hands to prayer, release the back knee down to the ground, so your 90-degree angle between your legs. And then hook the elbow outside of the thigh. Press the top hand down into the bottom hand, and either stay there trying to focus on your rotation, otherwise lift the back knee up off the ground, fix your gaze on one single spot that's not moving. Try and straighten up the back leg as much as you can. 2 more breaths. And then hands to the ground, step to high plank, and then walk your hands straight back to your feet. Taking a forward fold here, so bend your knees loads, grab a hold of your big toes with your first 2 fingers and thumb, and then try and keep your chest as close to your thighs as possible, or your stomach as close to your thighs as possible, and think about lengthening your legs, but they won't go straight because you're keeping your chest to your thighs. So you're trying to keep the length through the lower back, anterior tilt of the tailbone. This is so good for the hamstrings. And then if you want to, once you've fixed that good form, if you want to straighten the legs, your chest will come away from your thighs. And if that feels like a better place for you to be, then go for it. If you're doing that, crown of the head towards the ground, elbows out wide. Otherwise, keep the bend in the knees. Try and press the feet through the ground, but with your fingers, try and pull the toes up off the ground. 2 more breaths here. And then hands to your hips, inhale, coming all the way up. Big step out to the side, turn the toes out, heels in. Bring your hands onto your inner thighs and then a little sway from side to side. So you're looking for a good stretch through the groin. You're trying to press the knees out as wide as possible with straight arms. Can feel really nice to do a twist here, so drop one shoulder in, look over the other shoulder, and then to the other side, drop the other shoulder in, twist. And then come back to the center, keep nice and low and reach your arms out. So really focus on using your glutes to get the knees out wider. Sit down lower, last couple of breaths here. And then release. Turn the feet to face forward now. Interlace the fingers behind the back. Inhale, lift the chest. And then exhale, soft bend through the knees as you fold forward. And then pull the fists away from you. And then if you can, straighten the legs, but you don't need to. If your arms are hyperextending, if they're bending the wrong way, soft bend through the elbows. Imagine you're going to split the mat in 2. And then inhale, coming all the way up. So last thing, standing, balancing on one leg. So ground the right foot, lift up the left leg. Similar to how we did at the beginning of the session, pull the knee towards your armpit and try and straighten the standing leg as much as you possibly can. Shoulders away from your ears. And then grab a hold of your ankle and bring the foot as high up the leg as you can for tree. So it doesn't actually matter, you can do tree right down here, just as long as you're not pressing into the kneecap. Wherever you are up the leg, really focus on trying to get the knee out. So the knee will naturally want to come forward. Got to use your glute just like we did in that big wide squat to get the knee out more. Either have your hands in prayer or have your arms down by your sides, or to challenge it a little bit more, reach your arms up to the ceiling. Just make sure you're not cheating by pressing onto the ceiling. Try and keep your hips forward. And then cross your foot just over the thigh and sit your weight back. Reach your arms forward. For this one, you want to make sure that there's really a long lower back. You're not rounding your back, so stick the bum out and reach. One more breath there. And coming all the way up. And release. We'll do that on the other side. So lift up, interlace the fingers around the shin, pull it in nice and close, shoulders away from your ears. Try and straighten the standing leg, pulling it just towards your right armpit. And then grab a hold of the foot, bring it as high up as you can. Really press the foot into the thigh and vice versa. Work on the knee to get it out a little bit more, and then hands wherever you like. Try and fix your gaze on one single spot to help you balance. And if you wobble, it's really good for your ligaments and tendons around the ankle joint, strengthening those, so don't panic if you wobble. Cross the foot just over, sit your bum back, and reach your arms forward, 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 forward. So all the weight is in your heel. Hold it there for 3, 2, 1. Nice, guys, well done. Come down into a squat. So toes turned out, bring your hands together, and then use your elbows to press your thighs back. No stress if your heels don't touch the ground, doesn't matter. Try and lift your chest up. 2 more breaths. Good, and then release your hands to the ground and come into a kneeling position with your knees as wide as your mat and your feet together. So you're going to come down into saddle pose, so knees wide, feet together, and then walk your hands back. So you're looking for a stretch through the thighs, good stretch through the thighs and the hip flexors. When you get to here, lift your hips up, tuck your tailbone under, and then sit back down again. So rather than arching your back, you want to lengthen your lower back, and then try and come towards your elbows. That might be too much, so just stay up if that was better for you. The knees will probably start to want to lift off the ground, so try and encourage them down. And then if that's not enough still, come onto the crown of the head and then the back and reach the arms up and back. 2 more breaths here. And then release and make your way back up. Good. Hands to the top of the mat. Extend your legs and lower down onto your stomach. Lower, 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 lower. Okay, so from here, interlace your fingers behind your back and then lift your chest up. This is super good for the back. Point the toes, straighten your legs and try and hold it up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release. Make a pillow with your hands and lay the forehead on the pillow. And just give your hips a little wiggle from side to side. And then bend both your legs and reach around and grab a hold of either your toes or your ankles, doesn't matter where. So, and you can either have your feet pointed or flexed, doesn't matter again. And then lift your chest up and at the same time pull your legs away. So I prefer to flex the feet, lift up, pull back. So good for your back, this one. Try and use your glutes more, press back, last 3, 2, 1, and lower down. And then hands back under your forehead. Give the hips a little wiggle from side to side. Okay, so good stretch for the shoulders. Bring your right arm to a 90-degree angle and bring your left hand as though you're about to do a press up. Bend up your left leg and then think about tapping your left toe towards your right shoulder. So I'll just show you what it would look like. So you're like this, the elbow's in line with the shoulder, and then you're reaching, trying to get the toe to tap towards the elbow. And then onto the other side, so left arm bent, 90-degree angle, right hand flat to the ground, bend the right foot, and then think about bringing the right toes to the left elbow. 3, 2, 1, and then release. Press all the way back into a child's pose. Take a deep breath in, exhale, sigh out. Good, and then release. So one more back bend. It's so good for us to do back bends to counter all the rounding of the back throughout the day. So tuck the toes under. You want to tuck the tailbone under as well. So think about lengthening the lower back. Bring the fingers facing down to the glutes and then press the hips forward. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Think forward, forward, forward. Super strong through the legs. If that feels okay, you can reach back for the heels. And if you just did the position that we just did on the floor, when you grabbed a hold of your ankles, then you can definitely do it here. It just feels a bit scarier. People are less inclined to have a go. But have a go, really press the hips forward and then come up and sit back down into a kneeling position. Well done, guys. Keep practicing those back bends because they do improve. It takes a lot to counter so much rounding, especially if you do lots of cycling as well. So swizzle over so that you're seated. Bring your feet together and your knees apart, and then lengthen and fold forward. So round your back as much as you want with this one, chin to chest. And then coming all the way up. Extend out your right leg and then bring your left knee across your body and then hug with your right elbow your knee towards your armpit. So you keep facing forward, but you're trying to get a stretch for the glute there. And then lay the foot flat to the ground, bring the left hand around and continue twisting. So look around behind you and either stay there or shift the elbow outside of the thigh to make it a little bit more intense. Rather than collapsing down, try and make yourself as tall as possible. One more breath there. And then back to the center, counter twist to the other side. And then lay that foot in for tree. Bend the leg, just turn around so you can see better. And then lengthen, try and lengthen your lower back as much as possible. You can sit on a cushion if you want. Start to straighten that leg until you feel a good stretch through the back of the hamstring. Try and flex the toes so you're getting a stretch through the calf as well. Don't worry where your hands get to. As long as you feel a stretch through the back of the leg, that's all good. And then release. We'll do the other side. So just switch over so you've got your left leg straight, hugging up your right knee to your left armpit. Bring it in as close as you possibly can. Keep looking forward, try and make yourself as tall as possible. And then land the foot down and twist. And then hook the elbow outside of the thigh and continue the twist. Just notice the shoulder wants to ride up. Keep trying to press it down. And then rotate to the other side. Place that foot in for tree. Bend up your leg. Try and lengthen your lower back as much as you can, and then start to extend the leg and fold forward. Keep flexing the foot so you get the stretch, more of the stretch through the calf as well. And then release both legs out straight now. Bend the knees, try and lengthen your lower back, and then start to straighten the legs, and then start to fold. If you've got a strap, that would be really good, with bent legs, pulling the strap, and then start to straighten. Otherwise, just as long as you feel a stretch through the back of the legs. This is so hard to get the forward fold without rounding the back. And if you're finding this really difficult, then ease off a bit and go to the point where you feel a good stretch, but you're not contracting the muscles because it's so painful. That will have the adverse effect and tense your body and make you less able to do the stretch. And then release. Bring your feet flat to the ground, hands behind you, lift your hips up, open up your shoulders. This is super good for shoulder extension, activating your glutes, tabletop position. And then release all the way down. So flip around, so you're bringing your knees out really wide, just taking a really good deep stretch for the groin. So try and keep your feet in line with your knees, and then a little shift forward and back, forward and back. If your groin's really tight, you'll probably have your knees quite close together. So don't worry wherever you are, just a little shift forward and back, forward and back. And then either you can stay here or you can come down onto your elbows, totally up to you. And wherever you are, try and really focus on smooth, steady breaths, opening up, especially if you do lots of running or cycling. This one's going to probably be pretty tight. Just another 10 seconds here. Try and relax your pelvic floor. And then release, bring your knees in towards each other. Just got one more stretch. So coming back into downward facing dog, and then bring your right knee to the back of your right wrist, 45-degree angle with the shin, with the toe pointed, and then send the left knee further away from you. Try and lengthen your spine up as much as you can, and then fold forward. So you've got your right knee behind the back of the right wrist, and with the shin at 45-degree angle, and then you fold forward, arms in front of you. You can either stay there or bring the forehead onto the back of the hands. And then coming up for the other side. So back into downward facing dog, and then left knee to the back of the left wrist, 45-degree angle through the shin. Tuck the back toes under, walk the knee further away from you. Inhale to lengthen up, and then exhale to fold forward. Really good stretch for the glute, the lower back, inner thigh. Smooth, steady breaths, trying to breathe like a dive, deep sea diver. And then coming up. So bring all your weight onto the left glute, slide your right leg around, or any other way to come down onto your back. Feet flat to the ground, reach the arms forward, and then slowly, slowly, slowly coming down. When you arrive all the way down, cross your right leg over your left, like you're sitting cross-legged in a chair. You can double rep if you want, right toes under the left calf, or just single. Bring your knees towards your belly button, and then let your knees fall over to the left side for a big twist to release. Look over to the right side. And then come back to the center, cross your legs the other way, so left leg over right. Let the knees fall over to the right shoulder. Place the right hand on top of the left and look to the left. Close down your eyes. Nice deep breath in. and out. And then come back to the center. Take a hold of the big toes or the outside edges of the feet for happy baby. Try and press your lower back into the ground and bring your knees towards your armpits. Try and flex the feet so your feet are facing the ceiling. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. One more deep breath in. And then exhale, let go. Release the legs to the long edges of the mat. Let the feet fall out. Then press the back of the head into the ground. Lift up the shoulders so that you can send them further away from the ears down towards the bottom of the mat. And then let the palms face up to the ceiling. Let go of any conscious breath and try and release all of your weight, so let the ground support you. And right now it would probably be pretty tempting to think about what you've got to do next or rush into the next thing that you've got. Your mind will definitely wander because we have monkey minds, and your aim for the next 30 seconds only is that anytime you notice your mind wandering, which it will do, bring it back onto your breath. Notice how you're breathing. Notice how your body feels. No commentary, no judgment, just observation. And try and soften into the ground. And that's all meditation is practice coming back into the moment. And it is so, so beneficial for everything else in your life. Take a gentle breath in through your nose, out through the mouth. Try and soften a little bit more, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then interlace your fingers. Reach your arms up and back and point your toes and arch your back. Try and make this up as long as you possibly can. And then bend your knees, pull them into your chest. Take a little rock from side to side. And then roll over and gently press your way up to seated. Take your time, and when you do arrive, cross your legs, bring your hands onto your knees, lift your shoulders up, draw them back and down away from your ears. Take a gentle breath in through the nose, big sigh out, and then a really deep breath in through the nose and hold your breath. So breathe in, hold your breath, breathe in a little bit more, sip in a bit more, sip in more, last time sip in more. Hold, exhale. Smile to yourself for absolutely no reason at all. And then nod your chin to your chest. Well done. Namaste. Thank you guys so much for sticking to the end of the session. It was a pleasure to create this session for you guys. I hope that you find it helpful. Do pop any comments below and do please donate for Women International. They are such a brilliant charity and they do such important work, and it means the world to me when you guys help me support them. Thank you everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.